Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lizard Brains podcast. I'm your host, DJ Alessandrini. Talking is tough today, so it's going to be a long podcast for me, but Tom is great at talking. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I don't know if I'm going to be that hot this week either, but I'll do my best.
I literally didn't talk all day, and then I was just like, let's launch a podcast, and then my mouth was like literally not warmed up to move and make like words.
How do you go through a day at work without talking?
Typing the whole
Typing away.
Just typing.
Spreadsheets.
Lots of spreadsheets.
That's kind of wild. I really enjoyed, I mean, now I go through days without talking to people somewhat often, but I really enjoyed jobs that were like service jobs where I had to talk to people.
Same.
And then my favorite part of it was do you sing in the car?
Yeah. Not as much as I used to
sing
though.
in the car.
Not as much as I used to. I was talking with a coworker about this the other day. A lot of times I'm just driving in the car. I'm like listening to like a audiobook or like a podcast or something like that. So it's not like I'm singing to that. I would say,
right.
And I think it's mostly because I don't really own a car with a nice sound system in it at the moment.
Fair enough.
So I don't really listen to music.
I find myself listening to stuff more. That's music is listening, but I mean like listening to YouTube videos in the background or whatever.
Yeah.
But my point was going to be when you like have a shift of a job that you have to talk a lot on the drive home, your voice is super warmed up and you can hit all the good notes.
Ooh, didn't think about that. So what you're saying is right now I would sing terrible. Can't wait for the email segment. This is going to be great.
Yeah, you're good. Emails.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to do red leather, yellow leather, and all that.
Oreo cookies. Yeah. That's how we warmed up.
Is that one?
That's how we warmed up in middle school choir, man.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, the teacher would be playing some kind of jingle on the piano, and we'd all be singing about Oreo cookies, and that's how we'd warm up.
Oreo.
Cool. I think I'm not even sure if we were saying Oreo cookies, but I definitely was saying Oreo cookies.
Everyone else is doing like monk chants and you're just singing about cookies.
I'm like Oreo cookies. Woo! That actually checks out. That's probably exactly what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So,
or like the Viking rowing.
Yeah.
Oreo
cookies. Yeah. See?
Yeah. How was your week?
Man, let's start with your week. I don't remember my week.
I didn't have a lot going on. I had kind of a weird week. I don't know why. It's just one of those weeks.
You just had like an introverted week?
Yeah, I guess so. And then went down to not related, but the only thing I really did was go down to Cincinnati for Easter with family. And I was having kind of an introverted day on Easter, so I ended up like running the kitchen. Dude, I made Easter dinner. My mom was the brains, but I made basically everything. I actually had a great time. I think working in kitchen would be fun too.
Yeah.
Although I've heard it's kind of like the military, maybe not like a real kitchen.
It's like the military. What kitchens are you talking about?
I've known a couple people who've worked in like real kitchens. I think Scott Malloy has told us some stories, but I know other people like a real kitchen where like chef is like the general and you have to like scream things to like make sure that you don't crash into people. And...
All right. So when I was in high school, I worked in a kitchen. I was like poached eggs, steaks, and toast. Like that's what I did. So
breakfast.
It was a breakfast place. Yeah. So it was because I was next to the grill. So I would do the steaks, and then I had the toast thing right there, and I would do like poached eggs. Like that's basically all I did, right? And yeah, there's like the head guy that kind of like stands in front of the kitchen, like shouting like what he needs and what this and that, and like he's kind of like running the show. And I always just called him Coach.
Coach.
So, Coach. He really digged that I called him Coach.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like an older guy, I'm assuming.
I mean, I was like 17, so everyone seemed like an older person. He was probably like mid 40s, 50s, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
So like he wasn't like he had like a ton of gray hair, but like it's not like he was like super young or anything.
I should have called my mom Coach while she planned the whole meal, but then like she would just tell me what to do so I could keep helping.
Yep.
And just, but I was so hot standing in front of the oven all day and stuff. Oh my gosh. but we made this amazing pork, uh like a sesame soy glazed pork, and then like some roasted vegetables. It was great. I had a good time.
That does sound fun.
That's kind of it though.
I didn't I feel like I did something on Saturday, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, I did an endurance race with Paul Darling, but we had to we in iRacing. Um,
Mm.
we had to run like a weird strategy because he had some like he was doing some esports thing before it.
He's doing that like full sponsored GR86 Cup esports thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he was doing that before. So and then the a stint was like 70 minutes. And if you just did the 70-minute stints, it like lined up perfectly where you would just have like a 3-stop race, right? But the problem with that is they are, excuse me, they also had a 2-hour drive time limit. So I had to make an early stop and then we had to make a splash and go like at the end. So we had an extra stop. So I'm pumping in laps. It's Daytona in like a Mustang, which was like whatever.
Whoa.
But if we win the race, we get like $200 champ car dollars. So like it like can go towards some kind of endurance race in the future, right? And then there's a couple of these
That's worth it.
we're planning on doing, right? So first lap, P2 and P3 are like fighting each other. I break the draft. I'm just cutting laps, Tom. I'm flying. I'm like, man, why don't I drive this Mustang more? This thing's kind of fun. And it's like 10 minutes into my second stint, I have a 30 something second lead. Like by the time we get to the end of the race, we need like a 40-second buffer to do this like splash and like go to the end. So I'm like I'm just cutting laps, like we're basically going to win this thing, right? Like this is cool. We have like this like weird dumb strategy, but like it's still going to work out.
Yeah.
A yellow comes out. So now my lead's completely gone. I didn't even know there could be yellows.
They just like forced one.
Yeah, they just like threw a yellow.
They
So
didn't warn anybody that it would happen. It wasn't like a noob
no,
move.
it's I didn't read any of the subs. I just showed up and drove the car. So
Shame, shame, shame.
I just
You got to read the subs, man.
it's a sim race and Paul asked me to do it. So I just showed up and ran laps. Like I just did what I was told to do.
Yeah,
So
but fake cars, real racing.
Christoph's like the subs. Um anyways, so I was a little peeved by that. That the yellow came out. Turns out it didn't come out for any reason. So then I'm like playing politics in like the Discord. I'm like, hey, the guy who benefited most from that yellow coming out, it came out because he literally threw a car into the wall. So then he got a drive-through penalty. So then it made it where it was possible we could still win, but I was gonna catch them like at the end of the race. Right? So Paul jumped
Okay.
in to break up my drive time, and then I jumped back in the car, and for the next hour and a half, I was just cutting laps, just chasing them down. And then with 20 minutes to go, I caught them, but it's Daytona, so it's like a little hard to I mean, it's easy to pass them, but it's hard to stay past them.
Yeah.
And I like have a plan. I know how I'm going to sabotage first, then he's fighting third place. I know exactly how it's going to go down, right? I'm like, okay, I just need to execute my trap, right? Like I've thought it all out, and I've like poked around. Like I've gotten a lot of intel, like exactly like how they're going to react to things, and I'm like, my brain is just like pulsing in my head. Like it just feels like Pinky in the Brain style, like I just understand. I'm like seeing the future. I'm like the guy from Dune, and too many references. And yes, the gift that Tom posted in the chat, that's me with my head exploding with knowledge. And we go into the bus stop and it checks up a little weird, and then you know how like finicky the Mustang is with getting it in like the gear. I had a box of
Yeah.
neutrals and I lost like 5 seconds with like 10 minutes to go, and I couldn't catch them in time, so I got third.
Damn, champ car's not our thing this year, man.
Dude, it was I was hating myself because so I had a bunch of people in the Discord like watching, like rooting me on. Like we're all like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is cool," and I was like telling them what my plan was, and we're like, "Oh yeah, that should work," and like,
This like our Discord?
no, not in the Lizard Brain Discord, just another one.
Got
Um,
it. Okay.
and And then I felt so, like, embarrassed. You ever feel, like, so embarrassed where, like, it feels like there's, like, heat on your neck? Did you feel that way when you
Uh,
pulled into the pits?
I sat. I'm referencing the Champ Car race that I blew from 2 episodes ago. I sat with my hood up, hiding from everybody on the top level of our IMSA paddock, like
Yep.
uh, pit box thing. I didn't want to be seen, looked at, talked to, speak to anybody. Yeah, it's horrible. It's the worst feeling.
So, yeah, I
So I'm
felt
confused, real quick. A guy, like what, like an admin crashed and he threw a yellow for himself or something. What do you mean?
I don't
Someone
know
crashed and benefited.
I don't know how it works. Um, I think, uh I think one of the Champ Car people that's, like, I don't know if they're an admin or not, but they're in the, chat. It's Crawford. Um, is it, like, generate? Because it came out, like, when there was a crash. So I don't know if there's somebody watching, and if there's a crash, they, like, throw the yellow. I know there's, like, automated programs. It's supposed to be noob specific. What does that mean? That's what Crawford said in the chat.
We don't need to go through it if you don't have the answer, but
Well,
that sounds like
uh,
you should read this up, is what it
yeah,
sounds like.
sounds like I should read the subs, yeah. But yeah, that's what I did on Saturday, and then after that, I had, like, a bad sim taste in my mouth because I, like, kinda blew it, and, so then I just kept sim racing. I must have sim raced, like, 8 hours on Saturday. It was the best.
Holy cow.
I was sore. When I went to bed, I was sore. I was like, I, like, crawled. Are you ever, like, so sore and you, like, crawl into bed and it actually feels good to just, like, be laying down? Yeah, that's
That was when, especially when I was on my like full workout program, when I was racing and full time and all that. When I was like climb into bed and I was on like early bedtime. Ooh, climb into bed 9:30. Take your contacts out and throw them in the garbage next to your bed.
oof, oof.
Chef's kiss. Best feeling.
Let's go.
Best feeling
So that's
outside of a car.
and then I think Sunday I did some coaching on Sunday. Um and then hung out with Christine and then also did some more sim racing. I've been sim racing a lot, Tom. Been like trying to um I've just been trying to do as like much racing stuff as I can. Tom, there's an autocross this Sunday.
I know, but I'm gonna be busy.
Oh, womp
I'm
womp.
excited that you're gonna get to go though. Wait, can I share? I have an announcement that the podcast is gonna get for uh
The
the
actual
first
first
news.
time?
The actual guys, you know, the thing I've been talking about for like 3 months now. That's like I get to share it eventually. You'll hear it when it happens.
Yep.
I get
Okay.
to say it. Can I say it? Oh, I don't know if
No, I'm just playing with
I,
you.
I don't know how to do that. So this year, this is my racing plans for the year. This is like my job, my whole thing. We're gonna pull the curtains back. I am gonna be like a Bridgestone contract driver slash ambassador this year, racing in WRL full time with Rockwell Autosport and racing some Champ Car races with them, doing like local events all around, basically to be a like billboard for the RE71 RS and Bridgestone as a general. And that means I get to race all the rest of the look. I got little goosebumps. I'm so excited because I've been literally, guys. This has been 5 or 6 months in the waiting, and it's finally out. So I'm like so excited, and I can tell a little story about why. But it'll be full season in WRL in GTO in a Porsche Cayman, um, which is 7 more races, I think, with Rockwell, Alex Rockwell or Eric Rockwell will be driving with me, and then Ryan Power, who a lot of you guys will know from GLTC and NASA, as a little 3 driver pairing.
That's exciting. I'm excited for you.
That's like I know you've known about it forever, so it's like, but
Woo!
um, and then yeah, like any other event that I can get to all the time.
So have you have you thought about like doing a bunch of autocross events or
Yeah, I have so on my calendar, but you know, I'm looking at this as similar to what I used to do with Honda, where it may not have been the exact expectation, but this is what I thought was going to be good. Was like my job was to race the cars in whatever series. But when I wasn't racing, I was going out of my way to go to every event that I could possibly go to and always try to tie it back to like Honda being So I was racing in Hondas all the time when I could. I would only autocross Hondas mostly. So I built a calendar for the year. Have you built your calendar yet?
I have not.
Okay, I'll share mine with you. I built a calendar that has events basically, if I want to, literally every weekend from now until the end of November.
Can you share that with me? Because I bet a lot of those will have a lot of the same events and things.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I'm going like nationwide. Like some of them you're not going to want to go to. I have like events in California if I want to go and stuff. But
Now feel like I have to go. It's just to keep you on your toes. I can't let you think.
okay,
Be
I
like,
want to go to Thunder Hill so bad,
yep,
so bad.
I'm going
I've
there.
got both California Grid Life events.
I'm going there
Are
next
you going
weekend, Tom.
next week?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to be at CMP.
I was gonna say. Um, so yeah, I'll be at Mid Ohio this weekend because it's the first race in the Cayman while you're autocrossing at Pittsburgh. So we'll
uh,
both be driving this weekend.
wait a second. What track are you going to?
Mid Ohio
Gotcha. Okay. Um, that's okay.
for the
Good.
new pavement.
Good, because yeah, you were originally planning on going to Mid Ohio, and then something fell through, and then you're like, oh crap, and now it's good that you have something else to do when you're at Mid Ohio.
That's next weekend.
Oh, that's
That's well,
yeah,
while
yeah,
Grid Life is at
that's
CMP, I will be at Mid Ohio again.
gotcha. So you're gonna be at Mid Ohio twice in a row.
Yep.
Oh, what's happening at Mid
So
Ohio this weekend?
this weekend is WRL,
Oh, gotcha.
the first race in the Cayman, and then the next weekend is Auto Interests, which is like the first public track day weekend on the new pavement. And the following weekend after that is our Lizard Brains Autocross School.
Whoop woo. Uh, I don't. How do people sign up if they want to sign up?
It's already full. It's
Oh,
already
it's already
full.
full.
But
Well, hey, sucks to suck, everyone.
yeah, for this one. So I guess this is another announcement for us, both of us.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't actually know the club. It's not the SCCA region, but Mike Rasney reached out to us and said he listens to podcasts. I don't know. He's not here with us now, is he? No. But he reached out and was like, hey, we have this test and tune. Would you guys be willing to come out and like instruct a small group of drivers at our test and tune? And we were like, yeah, that'd be amazing. Let's do that. So 2 weekends from now, we'll go to Grissom. I think it's TRSCC, but or SSC. It's
We'll figure out what it is
something
when
though.
we get there.
It's an autocross test and tune. So we're going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
coaching autocross drivers.
So and we've
that
talked
weekend.
about like both of us get inquiries in coaching autocross, but coaching autocross is so tough because you would have to be at that event driving with them to coach them, and in general,
Yep.
like in-person coaching, the cost of that just doesn't make sense for an autocross event. But us hosting a school actually makes a ton of sense because you get a bunch of drivers there, all at the same time, like literally hosting your own. I wouldn't say we're hosting the event; we're more like piggybacking on it
No,
as
yeah.
like a resource at that event. But it makes
We're
a
just
lot of
guests. Yeah.
sense. Yeah, we're just guests. We're invited guests to be at this event to help whoever wants. I'm sure there'll be somebody there that does not want our help, right? But we're there as a resource to
Well,
help them.
it's a bigger test and tune. The reason I say it's full is we're only working with a group of 10 drivers, but I think there's going to be 30 people there or something.
Yeah.
So you might still be able to go to the event, but I think our coaching capacity will suffer. No, our coaching quality will suffer if we take more than 10.
Gotcha. Tom's the ringleader. I'm tagging along.
So yeah, we got a bunch of cool stuff coming up, but I'm so excited. I'm so glad I can finally share that. Okay, so I'll share a little version of why it took so long for everything to come together with the Bridgestone
Okay,
deal.
hold on.
And go ahead. It's not okay. I'll try not to rant. It was just super annoying though. Like I said,
I don't know why, but I feel like messing with you a lot tonight. So.
Bring it on. I need it. The main holdup, not the main holdup, but a holdup was like I said, we built this whole thing around like a main WRL program. It was going to be a GP1 Cayman with the same 3 drivers with Rockwell Autosport. And we did the whole proposal, and I talked to everybody at Bridgestone, and like everything was like full speed ahead kind of thing. And then WRL does a surprise pivot to a spec tire for GP classes. So we were going to build this GP1 car, then we'd have to run Continental tires, which is very specifically not okay for my deal. So that actually delayed us like a whole month. Have you been playing the music and I can't hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm saying all this with a smile on my face, people. This is a fun story now.
Hey, listen to this. Listen to this music. I'm gonna turn it up, Tom. Is this not fun? How much fun are we having right now?
Okay,
Anyways,
so
continue.
Spec tire for GP classes means the only way to run Bridgestones in WRL is to do a GTO car program, which is literally all GT4 cars now. And we have this little 3.4 liter Cayman. So we're like, crap, what do we do? Like, this is just a big problem to solve. So it ends up that Rockwell has got a completely different car. They got a 3.8 liter Cayman. We're going to run GTO in this car that's probably a massive underdog. We're going to do our best, but we're going to make it work. So
GTO's normally like GT4 Caymans, right?
It's power to weight based, but the power to weight for GTO is built around GT4 cars.
Gotcha.
Or like fits it perfectly.
Yeah, so you're going to build a not GT4
Cayman,
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not.
Tom, when you better get to work,
but y'all
man.
do that.
You better get to work. That wrench isn't going to turn itself.
Well, we were supposed to race it for the first time back at Barber. If you remember, we raced the Boxster there.
Yeah.
That was not planned. That was a last minute, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So we like delayed the thing a little bit so that they could rebuild a completely new car.
Yeah.
To like fix this problem that the spec tire sponsorship created. So yeah, we're going to be in the top class with a Bridgestone branded car, 3 good drivers, an IMSA level team. We're like cautiously optimistic that maybe we can run like similar pace
to
a GT4 car, but we have to be that much more perfect for sure. Like there's no way that we're an overdog because it's like we're making do with what we could.
Yeah.
Not in a scrappy way, but
that's fun. When are you having a race?
This isn't what we wanted.
When are you having what does that schedule look like? When is there a race that's close where I can just like show up?
The next close, let's see, we do Mid Ohio, then we do Road America, then we do Charlotte Motor Speedway, which I'm excited for. That'll be cool.
That will be cool.
Then we do Road Atlanta. Then we go to. I'm like scanning my calendar. I'm sorry. This is. Then we go to. Oh, then it's Sebring and Daytona. I don't think we race close by again, other than Mid Ohio. Yeah. You could come on Saturday.
Okay. I think I will. Yeah, I'll probably come by and bug you. I did some laps on Assetto Corsa on Hastings, which is like the first track for one lap.
For one lap, yeah.
Dude, Hastings looks fun. I only did a couple laps, and I would just do like a couple laps in a different car and then switch and whatever. For how flat it is, it actually looks like it's really fun. It has all these like decreasing turns that like really load, at least in Assetto Corsa, it really loads the front end. So you're kind of like, you're like chasing the rear, like through this like long pivot. Like normally that would just be a spin, but the radius of the corner is a spin. So you're like, it's like you're spinning the car like to the apex. I was having a good time driving it.
Cool.
So
Salil is going there this weekend in real life to practice. I won't have.
That's going to be much more effective. That's going to be much more effective than my practice.
Well, he lives 5 hours away in Denver, so it works out really nice.
Oh yeah.
But it's so hard to get to. That track is like impossible to get to. It's in like southwestern Nebraska.
Yeah, there's not really
just not an easy track to get to for us in the Midwest. So that's good that you're practicing. I'm glad it sounds fun. I don't think I'm going to drive it though in real life.
It was a very expensive mod though. It cost me $25 to get that track.
Oh my God. I think that's what a membership costs there, right, Whitney? Whitney's listening live. She was a member there.
$25. Is it $25 a month? Yeah,
Yeah,
I had to
maybe.
sign up as this dude's like on his Patreon account to get to the track. It's a very good mod. So
Huh,
like
that's good.
I was happy to pay for it. I'm like, 25 bucks, like I'll be that much better at this racetrack. Like that's
Yeah,
probably worth it, right? And that's like it's also like it's like how many people actually are trying to download this track? So like it's cool that the guy gets paid for like some of his effort. But to put in
yeah,
context, like a track in iRacing is like $12.
yeah.
So and that's built
And
by
they've
like a
got like
whole
a team of
team.
a ton of people, right? I think there's not, oh my God, it's too many age tracks. Harris Hill Raceway in Austin. You heard me talk about that before?
Yeah, isn't that the one with the jumps?
It's very bumpy. It's
Yeah,
not quite
okay.
jumps, but they're basically jumps.
Looks like
I think that
loops.
track's only like $300 a month
For a
once you
membership?
join, plus the membership join fee, but whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, it's like one of my life goals to have a membership at a racetrack cuz that seems like it would be like like so up my alley. I hope I have enough disposable income where a membership at a racetrack makes sense and enough disposable income where like I can actually make use of like all that extra just go to the racetrack whenever I want time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a cool environment. Like I've gone to Harris Hill a bunch with Andy Hollis. He's a member there. And they'll go on a Tuesday. The track opens at 9. By 9:30, there's like sometimes up to a dozen people in the clubhouse hanging out, having their coffee. There's zero urgency to get on track because you have the whole day. There's only like 10 people that are going to go on track all day anyway. So I mean, it's like have you ever seen those or heard of these like business incubators? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, that also I that's another reason why I want it. I think it would be good networking with the other people that are members there. It would be like my
Exactly.
people. Like we would think the same.
hmm
Yeah.
If you don't know what a business incubator is, it's basically you can rent an office in a big building and it turns into like this guy's a lawyer and this guy makes music and this guy grid life is based in one. It's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it is. She's so Whitney, who's a member at Hastings, says it starts at $850 a year. Now I don't know like what the tiers mean, but that seems like I I think I spend more on my phone. It's like just having like an extra phone, right?
Yeah, except I mean that's definitely priced for a smaller like
A racetrack in the middle of nowhere.
Kansas. No, oh my God, what am I thinking? Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Thank you, Nebraska track. Obviously, I think Putnam's much more expensive than that, and that's even a pretty small track. But yeah, I agree. I think life goal: be a member at a racetrack, or have a friend that's a member at a racetrack. For now, that'll work.
It's like a friend with a boat, except it's a
Basically,
friend with a racetrack. That's way better than friend with a boat. Friend with a boat is like C tier compared to friend with racetrack, which is definitely S
yeah,
tier.
that's how you come up with Hedge Hollow.
We should make a
Just
tier
a guy with
list.
some friends.
Have you ever seen those YouTube videos where somebody will make a tier list of things? We should make a
Totally.
tier list of like just a bunch of different stuff racing. We'll do like racing series. We'll do like a tier list. We'll do like tracks, a tier list. We could do like corners, a tier list, right? Like it's not going to get a bunch of views, but for the people that are like in our same space, they would probably really enjoy that content, right? So like maybe it gets a
Yeah,
thousand views, but all thousands of those people loved it.
totally. I think stretch goal when the Lizard Brains network on YouTube has multiple series, that will be one of them.
I like that. Two dudes, one sim will be a series. Tier list will be another series. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I love it.
So, all right. Do we want to jump into emails, Tom?
Yeah, guys, we haven't done emails in so long. We've got some good ones. We don't necessarily have a topic, so we're gonna kind of mooch off of the emails to get some topics. Is there anything else? That was all of our exciting news, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm a little fried. Work's just been really challenging for me the last couple weeks. So I'm skating by right now.
White knuckling.
I did get all my lizard brain merch as people might have noticed on the webcam. Whoopoo! Let's go.
You'll you'll never see him wear anything else.
I bought it was like $300 of my own spending on the merch. Um so I have not quite a full week's worth of merch, but I that's the the next time I purchase, I'll have a full week, and yeah, I'll be like I'll look like Doug, like the cartoon or like some like '90s cartoon where like the characters are always wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
me.
basically all cartoons, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You're
did
one step closer to being a cartoon character.
I would like I think we can make it, but I would like a lizard brain beanie of some sort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool.
I think we're capable of that. Dude, Rob Wilkinson was talking to me about doing lizard brain flags.
What do you mean? Like a flag to wave?
No, like a banner. So like we could hang it like behind
Oh,
us in like our recording space. Yeah, I could. You know what? You could get that IMSA picture out of
put
the
it back
way
there?
and just have a big old lizard brain flag.
That's better. I love it because who cares about that?
Yeah, yeah, just some TCR car like just getting pole
Yeah.
position at Road Atlanta or whatever that is.
Yeah. I hate that that picture is from that race. If you don't, if, for audio listeners, I have a picture of the TCR car that I raced in 2018 behind me. That race is the race that I ran into the sign and blew the engine.
Oh,
So
dang
the
it.
owner of the team got us these really nice pictures at the end of the year, Kenton and I.
Yeah.
They're like on a glass print. It's like a really high quality glass, like really heavy. But it's from that race. I'm like, oh man, I have to remember that one.
Dang it.
Yeah, from Road America. Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, do the thing.
Oh, uh, 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 j- uh, emails.
Ooh boy. Okay, so we got a couple. This one goes back to February 13th. Um, it is kind of a long one. I didn't really read it fully, but this is from Albert with a podcast question and coaching inquiry. Okay. Greetings. I just found your show at the end of last year. I've been enjoying the content you put out. There's already several things that have been mentioned in episodes that I've heard so far that I think will be of help to me going forward, but I still consider myself a noob and I'm hoping to get some advice. I like the mentality. Quick background. I grew up around drag racing and only started wheel-to-wheel racing December 2021 at Sebring for a champ car race. It's my first time racing, first time on track, and first time driving the car,
Whoa.
along with the rest of the team.
Into the
Dot, dot,
fire.
dot. Long story.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, this is what we recommend. Kinda. I
I
mean, maybe
kind of
not first, but
well, yeah, maybe not the first. I
but
wonder,
for a first race.
I've
Go ahead.
I've never went drag racing, but I wonder how much of that actually can get applied to driving on a racetrack. I don't know, and I don't want to sound ignorant about it, but like how much car control like is coming into play there? Like I bet it depends on the car because I'm sure you're at some kind of slip angle in the rear, right? Maybe? I
I
don't
don't
know.
think you. Not ideally. I've never done it
Not
either.
ideally, yeah, I
Um,
don't know.
the only thing I could think of is being comfortable at a track event environment. Probably translates from one to the other.
Yeah.
But I bet in the car, basically nothing.
Right. So it's
If you
essentially
have it, Albert or somebody else, like if we're wrong, email us
yes,
back.
please email us back,
But
but
that's our
I'm
guess.
I'm just like my knowledge of driving and my very limited like surface level view of drag racing, uh I'm just curious like how much actually like what part of that like helped you?
And also, was RuPaul there? Anyway.
The important questions.
Yeah. Okay, so Sebring Champ Car first race, so I had a lot to take in. Only had 5 races so far, all lemons or Champ Car, but feel like I've adapted well in the short time. So far, I've been the fastest person in our car every race and have managed to start spreading the gap the last couple races. For example, I ran a 242 versus the next fastest driver at 248 at Sebring. Um, Question: I really want to try another step to challenge myself and get better, but I'm nearing 40 years old and I have budget and time limits. I've been looking into some pros and cons for Skip Barber, just renting a seat with a more competitive team, or potentially trying to figure out some sort of more personalized driving coach route, which is feasible. Or no, if some other personalized driving route is feasible. What are your suggestions? I'm hoping to get in some sprint racing in the next couple of years. Grid Life or Spec Miata have been on my mind. if that changes anything. P.S. I've just started dipping my feet into sim racing, and it seems that I'm terrible. That's the word. I think I've heard mention of sim coaching. I'd like to find out more about that if that's a thing. It is.
It is.
Okay, thanks, Albert. Good email.
If you're already sim racing, then that's gonna help you out a lot, I think.
Yeah.
There's at this point, like there's just so many options to try to get good at this driving stuff. Uh, you said that you're limited time and budget. I know it's a tough transition if like your first taste is racetrack stuff to then go to an autocross event, but I think with limited budget and time, like per hour per dollar, autocross is probably going to be the best way for you to get better at driving.
Yeah, I agree with that. So he mentioned Skip Barber specifically. I've never been exposed to a like a driving school like that, but my perception from the outside is they're so curriculum based that the value for what you spend is not very high. You're going to spend a lot of time in a classroom. You're going to spend a lot of time getting held back by the coaches to make sure that you're in control. And the amount of time that you get to spend like really fully driving at the limit is pretty small. So I almost never recommend a Skip Barber or similar driving school that's so curriculum based, unless you have literally like money's not an object and I just need a race license like tomorrow. That's kind of where I think that comes in. I think autocross is absolutely something to look at. You mentioned just renting a seat with a more competitive team. Honestly, Albert, I think you're doing the right thing by going to endurance races because you're getting a ton of seat time. But if you're already the fastest person on the team, I think renting a seat with a more competitive team to expose you to someone else that's going to push your limits a little bit more, that would be like a massive intersection of time and value, where you're still going to drive a lot in the weekend, but you're going to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. It doesn't have to be a pro, but just people who are faster than you, more experienced than you. That's going to help a lot. Because then you're going to be friends with them by the end of the weekend, and you're going to have like the stuff DJ and I talk about on this podcast is stuff we talk about off the podcast too,
Yep.
and we push each other because we naturally are drawn to the same thing. Anyway, so that social circle expanding will be beneficial in itself. And then that's kind of related, but I think I would prioritize as much seat time as possible, and then like try to plan in a perfect world every so often have a coach or an instructed resource or an experienced friend that you know is like a really high quality experienced driver, somebody to make sure that you're on the right path. Because if you end up in like a spiral of stuff that's not productive, like you're going to champ car races being the fastest driver all the time on a team of slow drivers, but not that that's what you're doing, but you know that's not going to push you as fast as if you
I'll say it.
every 3 months or 4 months.
There's a high possibility that's what's happening.
It's possible, yeah.
It's a high
Two,
possibility.
242 at Sebring in a champ car is not horrible at all. Anyway, what the point I'm trying to make is have some sort of reference point consistently. It doesn't have to be every single time you go out, but try to drive a lot and try to get exposed to someone or something that's going to push you and make sure you're on the right path every 3 to 4 months.
Oh, so Albert's
You know,
here.
every 2 or 3 events.
Albert's here in the chat. He said he has some autocross
Oh,
planned this year and he's hoping to attend.
hell yeah. How's it
And
going?
he said it's a Dodge Neon. So a 242 and a Dodge Neon. Albert, I think you're doing pretty good, actually.
I don't think that sounds too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that helps. I mean, you're doing the right things to start off with.
Yeah.
Did my answer make sense?
I think, like, honestly, I think like improvement comes down to just variety, honestly. Like if all you did was drive that Neon at the same racetrack, or even just different racetracks, but with the same people, same car, you're just doing the same thing every time. The amount of learning that you're going to take in is going to be diminished in comparison to like just throwing yourself into something new every time. Like if you think about how much you learned, Albert, that like first race where like it probably felt like it was too much, right? But you
Yeah.
learned so much in that first race. So, and obviously we don't want to throw ourselves into situations where it feels like it's too much because then you're overwhelmed, mistakes are more likely to happen. You could take away the wrong things because you're so bandwidth limited. But we really want to be operating at like the boundaries of our capabilities and our knowledge, because that's where we're going to find that new information, that the learn something new about ourselves or the car or something. So Tom's advice to go drive with other people, whether they're faster or not, you're going to learn new stuff. So
Yeah.
not saying to
But
ditch your friends, but like just driving different cars with different people, doing different things, whether it's karting or autocross or sim racing or champ car. Maybe you like rent like a seat for like some kind of like SCCA sprint race or something. What were we gonna say?
yeah, like the example I was going to use is like if you want to come rent a seat with Rockwell for the weekend in the Boxsters, you're obviously going to get exposed to a different set of drivers. You're going to get exposed to a different car. You're like all that's you're going to get tons of new experience with another reference point, and then you're going to bring your current friends up with you because now you're going to be an even better resource, and they're going to get faster too, and all that. So I I forgot what I was going to say.
I guess we'll just move on.
No, I hope that helps.
Yeah. Thank you, Albert, for the email. But you said in the chat that you won't tell them, but I think you gave away enough information where they're going to be able to figure it out if they listen to the podcast. Just saying. And if you've been keeping the
Hey,
podcast from them, what the heck, dude?
that is cool that people are still like finding it.
Isn't that cool? Dude, I pull up like the country map every once in a while and there's like countries in Africa that like randomly have downloads and in like the Philippines and in India and like it's just like all over the world people are just like I don't know if they like tune in and are like, "Oh, I thought this was going to be like conspiracy theories or something." Um but they're like talking about like sour cream and hot dogs. This is weird. I'm out.
Podcast topic idea though: racing conspiracy theories.
What is that? Name one.
I don't know.
We
We'll have
will
to come
find
up with a
them.
bunch.
Oh, we're gonna make conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Or address ones that we find. If you have conspiracy theories that were related to motorsports or automotive, email us
please,
podcast@lizardbrain.life.
yeah, please email them to us because I don't know of any. Well, there is that one time, but I think came out it wasn't a conspiracy, or maybe it was. The
That one time?
It was, I think it was Ferrari. They, like, intentionally told their other driver to crash to bring out a yellow, so, like, that guy would get an advantageous pit stop to then go win the race.
No, that was Maldonado. Didn't they have him do that? No, it was a famous name,
It was
like a
somebody
Fittipaldi or something.
no, like, I think Fernando benefited, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, and his teammate was, oh my god, it's like a famous.
People are
It
typing in the
was like
chat,
a, it was
"Save
like a
us."
Senna or a Fittipaldi or a something like that.
I don't think it was Senna.
PK,
Piquet.
thank you,
Yeah, there we go.
Nelson PK Jr. I think that's right. I'm not a Formula One fan. I just hear about these things.
So, that's the only
Uh,
conspiracy I know of.
excuse me. I bet we could just type in YouTube, but like motorsports
Motorsports
conspiracy or
conspiracy.
Google. We're gonna have a bunch of them, and then we can just talk about them on here.
Yep, okay. Yep, alright, I'm down. Alright, should we do the next one? Which one should we do here? The autocross concussion?
This is a big callback, but sure.
Uh,
Oh my god, it's a long one too.
oh no, I always have to read the oh,
Why
Jesus.
don't here you do Deca, and I'll try to like consolidate the concussion one,
Okay,
maybe a little.
I'm gonna do the next email. I'm very sorry, Tim, but that was a lot. He's typing in the chat. I like I'm scrolling.
I don't even know if he meant for it to to have it on. Yeah,
Tom, yeah, you figured out. I'm gonna read this email from Deca or who's
good one
David
for you.
Best. David Best. Deca's just his email name apparently. All right. Hey again, guys. Like Tom, I learned how to drive via sim. I acclimated to real track driving very quickly, and for the most part, my mind occupies the exact same space whether I'm driving in sim or real life. all this to say, the idea of transferring skills back and forth between sim and real life is not new to me, but I was wondering if you had any specific insight or advice on continuing the process as skill level increases and refinement becomes more granular. That's a good way to put that. I like that. This winter, I finally made good on upgrading my sim equipment and putting a lot of serious time into iRacing. I've seen continuous improvement over the course of season one, and I know that my improvement has come from better acclimating to the sim and dialing in my equipment. But I'm also hopeful that I've improved my driving in ways that will see gains once I'm back on real tracks. Is David here today? I hope he is. Um, I want to make sure I approach this season with the right structure and mentality to efficiently apply, or yeah, efficiently apply what I've learned. Thanks again, guys. You're still killing it. David Best. David, thank you for the email. Uh, I think this, I actually get this question a lot. And I think this is the first time that it actually showed up on the podcast. Uh, or maybe not even this question, but like, I feel like I have this conversation a lot. And the conversation is I will see people that will sim race. They might even be really good at sim racing. And then that doesn't necessarily transfer to real life. Or they'll be really good in real life and that necessarily doesn't transfer into sim racing. And I think like the hang up there, and this is just a theory at this point. I have no quantifiable data that like backs this up. But in my experience, it seems like the people who focus on how they're the same tend to do better at transferring those skills like back and forth. The people who uh put a lot of focus into like all the ways that they're different don't tend to get like that transfer like back and forth. Does that make sense, Tom? And I think
Yep, and I'm
you're
guilty
the
of that.
different. You get caught up on how they're different. And
Well,
it's obviously not exactly the same. Go ahead.
I also get caught up. We mentioned this at the end of a different sim racing email, but I fall victim to, and I think a lot of people do. They want to be as good in the sim as they are in real life, or they feel they are in real life. And when they aren't, it's very frustrating, which then puts you into the death spiral of the ways that they're different and not the ways that they're the same. That's
Okay.
like I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like I'm victim number one of like of all of that stuff.
Tom's patient zero.
Um, patient zero, yeah.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I agree with you on your theory that focusing on the way that it's the same while like being able to ignore. What do you have any way? How do you ignore what's not correct?
I mean, I know like the ways that it's uh not correct, but like my when I'm using the sim, my whole goal of getting as good as I can in sim is to take those things into real life. So when I'm focusing on I know when I'm doing something that won't transfer into real life, like whether it's some like gamey like sim only like shenanigans, right? And that's me just trying to like win the sim race. But then I acknowledge where like the similarities are. And when I'm doing those things in sim,
Uh,
I try to imagine what?
Similarities.
Ooh,
Well played.
nice.
I see what you did
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
DJ.
yeah.
That was a big brain joke.
I definitely did that on purpose with all my wrinkle brains or my wrinkles in my brain. Definitely not smooth over here.
All my
Anyways,
brain wrinkles.
my brain wrinkles made that pun. Um so uh when I'm like really trying to hone in on something that I know is going to transfer to real life, I'll also think about how how this feels in real life. Like for instance, like a I'll be starting a race and I'll like try to like tell myself like, okay, like let's we're doing this race start like as if this was real. Like I like almost like role play it as like this is this is like race one at CMP GLTC, right? And it's like a top split like Porsche Cup race, and like we're all like savages, like trying to like murder each other, but not actually murder each other, right? Because the GLTC is really aggressive, and so is top split Porsche Cup, right? So you're kind of like taking this proactive like approach to it. Like you're trying to like center your mindset on like exactly like how to extract the most out of the of what you're given, right? Um,
Yeah.
and if you frame it in that capacity, I think you benefit a lot more from the time that you're spending on the sim when you're almost like role playing, like you're like LARPing as a real life race car driver sitting in like your living room or whatever. But
Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt.
you get so much more out of it because you're like putting yourself in that space. Like the brain pathways that are being formed uh because you've put yourself in that space are going to be much more effective at like bridging that gap from sim to real life. And then when you're in real life, you just pretend it's a sim. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. There's no reset button, right,
No
Tom?
reset button.
Yeah, there's no reset button.
You have to focus. No, you have to commit.
Commit.
Commit. Um, I'm I agree with all of that. I'm trying to put myself in David's shoes because, okay, so he says I've acclimated to track driving very quickly. I don't know what level of track driving, if that means wheel to wheel or if that means lapping days, time trial. Those are all a little different when it comes to simulator, right?
Hmm.
And then this last line or close to the bottom, I'm hoping that I've improved my driving in ways that will see gains once I'm back on real tracks. Um,
Maybe Paul knows David Bass because Paul said TT and HPDE.
Right. So I'm trying to, that's what I said. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes of how, where the line is between productivity of like, at some point in my mind, the paths diverge of where the improvement comes, um, where the improvement is related or productive between sim and real life. Um, in the sense of like, how much more sim could you possibly do to make yourself better in real life in the context of time trials, let's say, versus how much of it is just kind of um like a background noise of like constant experience, like if you're doing 3 or 4 hours of sim every week to kind of keep that muscle flexed. But do you see what I'm saying? At some
Yeah,
point
yeah.
there's
There's
those
gonna
paths
be
kind of diverge where
yep.
I don't know that you need to uh, in my mind there's a point where it stops. I don't know that it ever like hard stops, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think like so if you have like 20 free hours or like maybe even more like every week to do motorsport something, it would best be spent
Oh,
like some sim, some electric go-karts at like the local go-kart track, like after work or whatever. Um, some other sim, right? Like some sim with different physics. Like that would probably be best spent, right?
yeah,
If the end goal is like let's when I get to that real car, I'm gonna be a slayer, right? Because
right.
especially like the different sims, like people don't do that very often, and myself included, just because I love like competing on iRacing so much. But when you drive the physics in iRacing, and then you go to Assetto Corsa and you drive those physics, and then you jump over to R Factor and you drive those physics, and then screw it, you're hanging with the buds, you're gonna do some Gran Turismo driving or whatever. And now you're driving those physics. Well, when you get to your real car, you're just driving another car with a different set of physics, right? So
Right.
you're like you don't want to do the one thing so much where you become rigid. You want to stay adaptable and flexible because at the end of the day, like that's what makes somebody fast in a car is when they're very flexible and like pliable. Like I think that's what makes Tom so potent as a driver is Tom is very adaptable and flexible. Uh, but like I drive on a what if
How flexible I
he's trying to put his foot behind his head. Um, uh,
I did it too. It was impressive.
like I drive with a if then algorithm. So like if there's something new that like pops up, that like is completely out of that like internal brain algorithm of mine, then like it's a little bit of a learning experience more than I think what I'm saying, Tom, is I think you're more adaptable than I am. I still think I'm pretty good at it, but like if we had a competition between me and you, like some car that is drives like no other car in the world, I think you would hop into it and be like, okay, well, like you would figure it out in like half the amount of laps that it would take me to figure it out.
But a lot of that is exposure. If that were to be the case, then that would be in my mind, a lot of it due to even when I was playing Sims and video games when I was young, I got bored so quick. I would move on to the next thing quickly. So I was doing that exposure thing that you're talking about with switching games and switching cars and switching tracks. So that's honestly, I think we hit the nail on the head with that. Like where the point diverges. Like David, you're not going to learn new skills on iRacing driving the same car for 10 hours a week. That's
Yeah.
going to transfer to real life.
It,
If you take that, let's say more realistic, like 3 to 4 hours a week. If you spent 1 hour in 3 different sims every week, then that like what I call background noise, but it's just like this foundational thing that's just reinforcing that all the time. I think that will be equally or better prepping you for real life than just like grinding. Like for example, right now the ASM team, they set up a server. They're practicing Carolina Motorsports Park. They've had it up for like a week already, and they're on weeks where, and it's really fun. I've been on there with them. That's the only video game I played this week, but uh there's a point of diminishing returns with driving the same car on the same track in Assetto Corsa over and over and over, prepping for this event.
yeah.
So once you get to that point where you're just like chasing little bits here and there, unless there's somebody in the server that's like 3 seconds faster, and you're like, oh no, I got more to do. Um, don't 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 overemphasize the like I have to learn things in the sim that translates to the track, because that's overthinking it.
Yeah.
It's simpler than that.
I I think well also like let's say you spend 3 hours and all you really have time for is to like jump on the simulator and like do some iRacing. Maybe you don't even
Yeah,
have the other sims or like those don't even interest you. Don't just do like 3 rookie Miata races. Do a Miata race and then like a GT4 race and then some other race, right? Like cuz then you're learning different tracks, you're driving different cars, you're driving against and with different people, right? I think that would make you more flexible and pliable and you would better spend that time as well.
agreed.
All right. Should we jump on to the next one? Oh,
Yeah,
did you look through Tim's?
I can summarize.
All
I'm
right.
trying to remember the context of this, but Tim Bruschi has emailed us a number of times, and one of the previous emails he mentioned having too many autocross concussions, quote unquote, too many autocross concussions. We were like, what the heck? How does that even
Yeah,
happen?
like how do you get a concussion
Okay,
in
so he
autocross?
he emailed us with an answer a while back, and we're finally going to read it. I'm going to read the short version. He said, autocross concussion. This is why I have too many autocross concussions. I only have one, but that's still too many. Okay, that makes sense. The short story is this. I crashed a bike uh, after Trasheritas at my first nationals. Nobody, including me, knows exactly how it happened. I I injured my right eye socket, amongst other
Your
things. I
eye
missed my work
socket.
assignment the next day because I was getting some titanium put in my face. Oh boy. I've been back every year since, and now I have some amazing friends in the national autocross community. But now I'll hope Tom's finger crossing to remember what you were going to say method works for me.
What was that?
If I need to remember something, I'll like cross my fingers real
Oh,
quick
yeah,
just so
yeah,
I can
yeah.
like, okay, my fingers are crossed. Why was it? And it helps you mentally trace it back to where it was. I learned it from my mom.
And that works for you?
It does. You can almost, if you remember to cross your fingers in the moment, you can almost always get back to where you were.
You know what I
But it
do?
might take a bit like, what the heck? Why did? Okay, yo, I got there. Yeah. What do you do?
I just set a reminder on my phone.
Oh no, this is like in conversation. Like when you come up with something on the podcast, I cross my finger down here and I hold my hand there until I get
Oh,
to talk.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. All right, that makes sense. All right.
It's like a little reminder method. But holy crap, Tim, that's a scary story. I also have had a bad choices made injury at nationals, and I'm glad people behave themselves better now.
I'm I think that's just always how it's going to be though. Like like when you're there's like a weird thing that happens like when a group of people are together and like everyone's having a good time and it's like up the ante, up the ante, up the ante and then like next thing you know you're like doing dangerous stuff but it doesn't feel dangerous. You're just kind of like you're just like hanging with your friends and just kind of having a good time. Um,
Yep.
like I think of instances where like I could have easily fallen off a bicycle and like crushed my eye socket. It just like didn't happen. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just like like we were lucky that like we weren't getting titanium in our face during like some like big competition or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Tim, it sounds like maybe you're due for a lottery ticket to hit or something.
No.
So, but
Should I? Have you ever done anything stupid? Should I tell my story about nationals? Have you ever done anything stupid in nationals? You behave yourself at events.
no, because I'm very focused when I'm at those things. But I'm just thinking like in other instances where like you're like it's a house party and then like we find a bunch of bikes in the
Yeah.
garage and we're like, whoa, why are there so many bikes? It feels like we need to go on a bike ride. And then you literally like 15
Or
bikes are going out on like into the neighborhood.
perhaps rental scooters in downtown Indianapolis.
That is a perfect example. I don't know why that's not the one I thought of. Yeah, when I'm jumping them downstairs, like flights of stairs, that's stupid.
At least you're usually sober because you almost never drink.
Right, but I
That's
still
the
get
problem with nationals is it's a bunch of autocrossers with nothing to do with a whole week of time.
yeah.
So like mine was dumb. Mine was short version of mine. It was the year that I won my first championship in 2013, and we ran Tuesday, Wednesday. I had food poisoning from Friday of the pro solo, 5 days before, all the way through the day that I won. So I was like miserable. I ran out of underwear. It was like horrible. So I felt sick. I wasn't really eating. Definitely couldn't like drink or hang out or party with anybody. But I was there through Friday. So Thursday was like the first day that I felt like a human being again. And then Thursday was like a party night because party day, everybody who had finished running on Wednesday was just hanging out that day. So I just won my first championship. I was so excited, whatever. And it turned into like a longer evening of like bad decisions. And we were inebriated driving golf carts around. I was riding on a golf cart with someone on my lap holding their waist. And then we took an unexpected turn and I was only holding onto a person and not the golf cart. And I took a big tumble off the side of the golf cart. So then like I remember all of it. It
But
wasn't that bad, but
yeah, but
I'm
you
all of a
could have
sudden
been
I'm
hurt.
tumbling down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my back was all torn up. I had road rash everywhere. So Eric Strelnex, who's a doctor, like mended me a little bit, and then I had just had
Just
war
road
wounds for
rash.
like another week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. In hindsight, it was like, what the hell was I thinking?
But like if you were a little drunker, you could have just went poof, like head foot like forehead first into the ground, just like scraping into the bone. Like
Yeah, great mental image.
I made that
But
a
yeah,
little
you're
graphic. But like
next
you
time
could
on
be,
Lizard
dude.
Brain Saw.
Me and Christine will watch fail videos every once in a while, but then we kind of have to turn it off. But we used to love them so much, but now like we just realized that we're watching a bunch of people get hurt. So we're like,
Yeah,
we're
I
not
can't watch
liking
people
this.
get hurt.
Yeah, like when it's just like a little kid that gets like booped in the face and he like falls on his like diaper butt, like we laugh and we're like, oh, that's so funny. But then when it's like somebody like getting caught in like a tree swing and then they get like thrown into like the side of a cliff, we're like, oh my god, is that person dead? Like,
Right.
yeah,
The moment if I see a bike, a skateboard, a scooter, or a tree swing,
you're like,
I click like next,
click next.
skip,
Yeah,
gone. Yeah,
10 seconds. It
I
clicks to
can't do
the
it.
exact moment that their face goes into a tree.
Yeah.
You're like, no,
Oy,
dang
oy,
it,
oy.
I couldn't escape it. But yeah, like all those people that look like they're getting hurt, I'm pretty sure they're just drunk. Like
I think so.
I wonder how many like the percentage of like injuries of doing dumb stuff. I wonder what the percentage is of they were intoxicated while this happened.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you're the smart one for doing it sober.
That's why I hurt myself when I'm sober.
There's no Instagram account that's called sober people getting hurt.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's absolutely one called like drunk people doing
Like
dumb things or something.
drunk people fails. Sober people fails
For sure.
would be like somebody missing like a note during a trumpet solo or something.
Yeah. You're going, oh shucks.
Oh, dang it. That's what you hear in the back. You hear like, dirt, 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 beep, dang it.
It sounds like you're speaking from experience.
I've never let out a dang it in the middle of a trumpet solo yet. Yet.
You should learn how to play because your dang it always has the same note. I can't hit it. I don't
Oh.
think. But
Yeah.
you're
Dang
You should learn how to play those notes on your trumpet, and then if you mess it, you can play it like.
Yeah, I'll just incorporate it into like if I'm in a jazz ensemble, I'll just incorporate it into every soloist. And people in the audience that know, they'll know.
This next piece is called "Dang
Dang
It."
it! And then
You just play 2 notes.
somebody will be like, "What is that called?" I'm like, "Bah, bah," and then like just that's and then I expect people to clap afterwards.
I love it. That's performance art right there. Okay, so another real. How long have we been going? I don't even know. I'm having too much fun.
Little over an hour.
Okay, love it. This is from our good friends at Garage Heroes in Training, which DJ and I have both been guests on. We should have them on ours. I don't. We would have
We
to
should.
figure out something to talk about.
Yeah. We could just talk
So
about
the Garage
whatever.
Heroes in Training podcast is pretty good. They emailed us 2 questions if needed. This is from Bill. I just heard iRacing has I don't know what he means by this. I just heard iRacing has added wet and rain racing. How does it feel to you so far? That's the first question. Second one, DJ, you and Tom were talking about testing and finding the limit of grip on a track in just a few turns in an earlier episode. Is there a chance you could both discuss how you do that? I have a way, but I might not be doing it the best way. Thank you. PS1, if Tom doesn't want to talk about sim racing, you can come back to this at any point. I'm good. And PS number 2, we're still moving, but as soon as we get iRacing set back up, we'd love to. Dang, we got all sorts of coaching requests for you, DJ. We'd love to work with you if you have spots.
I'm having
Great
a good
podcast
time.
as always. Regards, Bill.
I'm having a good time coaching the iRacing. It's like the gains are like really intoxicating on my end. So
It's awesome. Okay,
uh
so first one, iRacing in the rain. What do you think?
did we talk about how this feels yet?
I don't think so. I think it came out the day the podcast was being recorded, and
we
you
only
hadn't driven it yet.
Yeah, we only did like I only did like a half a lap. Um it seems like on entry it's like good, like on the braking, like where you would be heavy into the brakes. It seems like it's pretty accurate. But then apex to exit, it doesn't seem like it's very like there's not a stark difference between like dry and wet.
Yeah,
And then
that's what I think.
yeah, and then it's missing Tom, you know how that last like 4 inches of the racetrack has like that extra grip compared to the rest of the racetrack. So like you'll have a little bit of a slide and then it goes catch right at the edge every time.
Yep.
It doesn't have that. You'll just be like, I'm waiting for the catch, and then you'll fly, and then you'll just kind of slide like a half a car width off the racetrack, and you're like, okay, like you're immersed in the thing. It like feels like you're driving a car, and then that happens, and then you're like instantly taken out of it. You're like, oh yeah. That's not how it works here, right?
Yep. I think what they built is like a wildly impressive weather model
Definitely.
system. So everything is based on water being added to the surface. And what it basically becomes in my mind is like a puddle simulator, but it's not like a wet track simulator because the track surface doesn't work right. But the puddling and the way the water is on the surface does. Does that make sense?
What was cool is so when the week it came out, we did a bunch of wet racing at VIR, and then I went to VIR, and it was very wet that first day on that weekend, and the puddles in iRacing were in the same spot that they were in real life.
Which makes sense because they
Scan the track.
3D map, scan the track, so all the leveling should be the right way.
Yeah.
But like you're right, there's not the closest to a significant. Oh, this was the last thing I was going to say is, you know, when you're at a track and it starts to rain, think of how wet it could get before they stop running because there's either lightning and the corner workers have to come in,
Yeah.
or somebody crashes and it's not safe, or you can't see. Like the severity of weather that you drive on track with is usually not that crazy. But in iRacing, they just went ham with the weather system. So you can be on track in like level 5 hurricane conditions, and like there's no line at which you're no longer just driving on an unsafe racetrack. So what I found is that the track gets too severely wet way too quick.
Yeah.
And you end up driving in conditions that aren't very realistic for like a quote unquote wet track, which is then when it turns into like a puddle simulator, not a wet track simulator.
Right. And then
but if you set the weather to like the lightest rain, and drive it in the car that doesn't have rain tires, which is the Formula 1600, it's actually it's pretty damn good. There is like a saturation of water that's on the line that you have to avoid that kind of resembles a rain line, but not really. It's like not quite
It does
right.
on entry, just not so much at apex and exit.
Yeah. So it's okay. It's a cool weather. It's a really impressive weather system model.
If this is
I
where
think
it
it's
starts, like it only gets better from here. Like I think honestly for like the first launch of it, I think they killed it. But like the things that we've talked about already and then one more thing kind of makes it where it's like, okay, it's almost there. It just needs like some tweaks is the visuals of what the track looks like don't necessarily match with how wet the track is, especially in drying conditions. Like it will look like there's a dry line forming, but when you put your car in that dry line, it's definitely still wet. You'll even have
yeah.
like a roost of water behind you as you're driving on the visually dry line. So there needs to be, and I bet it's just like this like huge processor overhead that like if they did it like it shows up visually, then you would need much better computers to like actually be able to run iRacing. So maybe we'll get it in a couple of years. I don't know what the hang up is there. I'm only speculating. Um, but the visual because you kind of have to like figure out how to video game it. Where like you're not looking at the track, you're actually just looking at your mirror to see how much water your car's throwing up. And then at a
Yeah.
certain point, you're like, okay, it's not throwing up that much water. It's probably time for dries. And then you come in. Like that's
Right.
how it works. You're not like there's a dry line forming. I bet I can keep the car mostly on that dry line, get temperature in the tires, like like you would in real life, where you're like, okay, there's not standing water. Uh, I'm my wets are getting too hot. I bet I'd be able to activate the compound on some dries, and then you would come in and get some dries, and then go out, right? But it doesn't necessarily work like that exactly at the moment. So, all right,
Yep.
part two of the question.
Part two was about testing the grip and finding the grip in a couple of turns. Can you describe more how you do that? Yes, this is so hard to do on on an audio only thing because we're going to talk with our hands and stuff, but we'll try. I know I am. um,
I'll explain your hands.
okay, for me, a lot of it, this is like I have to process what I'm actually doing because turning it into words is really hard. But a lot of it has to do with starts with the steering wheel, adding steering angle until you feel the grip go away. Usually the steering wheel will get heavier and heavier and heavier until the grip goes away, and then it will become much lighter pretty quickly. And correlating that at like a low speed to a mid speed a couple times to a higher speed. So think like 30, 50, 50, 80 maybe miles per hour. So that you can understand the scaling of how like the car will feel in the lower speed corners and higher speed corners. Um, that should help you dial in like where is the grip limit. And then when it comes to the back, I try. Like we've talked about a bunch of times. I try to like romp the throttle in a straight line to see what'll happen. Um, if I break traction in like second gear going in a straight line, that's a very different thing than if you just put your foot down in second and third and fourth and nothing happens, right?
Yeah,
So those are the first two indicators of like front and rear grip. I'm trying to think beyond that. Like I know there's more, but that's kind of all I think of. It's like if I kind of chop at the wheel a couple times I don't do this in the dry, but in the rain, I'll chop at the wheel like small inputs, like like a 20-degree input real quick, and then immediately put it back to center just to like get an idea of
like
like how much grip level there is.
yeah,
But that's less to do with the car and more to do with the condition.
yeah. I'm
So in
thinking
the
it.
dry, I don't really like hack at the wheel to like find the grip level. I just like go through the corner, adding steering angle until. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the times where
Kinda.
like keys were thrown, and I like went out and did a couple laps, and I like the first couple corners, I would either like induce the car into understeer just by like changing exactly like the sequence of inputs. So like I don't roll the weight around the edge. I kind of just like see exactly like what induces the car into understeer. So then I have a good idea of like the front end of the car. And then like Tom said, if you floor it in second gear and it's like you're chasing the car around a little bit, then you're like, okay, like this, you know, power to grip ratio in the rear, like that's how this feels. I'll use, like a slower corner to really feel exactly like the rate of how much I'll have to follow the rear, like on track
That's
exit.
big.
Yeah, on this
Choosing the corners at which you do this is big, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like the corners with like no consequences, like worst case scenario, I just like touch some grass. Like that's really where I'm gonna like play around with like just exactly how the car is gonna behave. Uh, but when we're talking about just like finding the limit of grip, like you're at the limit of like I remember I went to comp school and they kept I might have told the story on the podcast before, but they kept like harping on like this you needed to like change the position of your hands on the wheel so like when you're in the corner like like your arms weren't crossed so in case you need to turn the car more cuz somebody spun in front of you. And I was like that doesn't make any sense. So like I chimed in cuz I can't just sit there and shut up. And I was like if you could turn more then you could go faster. And the guy, like, in the front of the room, like, looked at me like I was like, had an arm coming out of my head. He's like,
Yeah.
"What do you what do you mean?" I was like, "Well, if you turn more and the car turns more, you're not at the limit of adhesion. And if you're not at the limit of adhesion, you could go faster." And, like, other people were looking at me, they're like, looking around like, "Oh, shit, that makes sense." Like, "Wait, why would we turn? Because it's" and then he's like, "Well, like, he said something and I was like, so like if your arms are at 9 and 3 and you turn the wheel, the only direction it's ever going to have to move is like back to open because the
Mhm.
car gets loose. You're never going to have to like randomly turn more because like your trajectory is basically set, right? So if you at any point are in a corner and it feels like if you just turn that wheel more and you would drive through like the inside of the corner on the grass, you're not at the limit of adhesion. But if it feels like you're oh my god, people at work make fun of me for saying limit of adhesion.
I was just like I
I
was
probably
giggling at
say it
that.
a couple times every day to be honest. Um, uh, so if you imagine if you turn the wheel more, the car turned more, then you're not at the limit. And really to me, like what it feels like you're at the limit of grip, which is what Bill was asking, it feels like the pedals are doing more than what the wheel is doing. Like if you give a lift, the direction of the car changes much more when you're at the limit than if you're just like driving. If you lift and you're just like kind of driving, the car really doesn't change its dynamics that much. But if the car is like floating around and you give it a lift, the car changes a lot in what it's actually doing and what's happening. So like as you get closer to the limit and you get more and more comfortable, I think this is why autocrossers do so well on racetracks is because they have such a safe environment to just like be at the limit. So
Yeah.
they get used to like what that feels like and that feeling of when the pedals start when the like the weight transfer and you know and you do that with the pedals when the pedals start manipulating the behavior of the car more than the wheel then that's when you're at the limit.
Yeah. Last thing I should have said, we could go on forever, but the last thing I was thinking about is that big heavy brake. Like I said, I do the acceleration, I do the wheel thing, but a good brake, heavy brake will also like you come out of the pit lane, maybe you do the first straightaway, the second straightaway. By the second straightaway, you should have done like a full stop test,
Yeah.
kind of like the second or third gear, and that should tell you a lot about the grip of the car too.
And the
Um,
grip of the track, right? Like we do that in the wet
well,
to
yeah,
really like feel out like what is this wet track giving me? Like the easiest
yeah,
way to figure out like okay, how much is it actually going to give me is like on the brakes. That's probably like the safest way.
yep,
So,
agreed. I don't know if that's a super concise answer because we were like coming up with it verbally as we talked, but
if it wasn't
hope
then
that
just
helps.
write in again, Bill.
Email, yeah,
We got you.
and both Bill and uh, who was the first email? Albert. Both of you, feel free to reach out to DJ for sim coaching.
Yeah, I got you. Though I got to figure out something with I got to like start doing like coaching sessions during the week. Normally I just like kind of like schedule them all for the weekend. But as
Yeah.
real racing starts coming up, then um, I feel bad for like the people that have like this weekly schedule with me, because that's so helpful to them. Uh, that I'm missing more and more as like I go to do real world stuff. So I gotta figure out something with that. But reach out to me. I'll we'll figure out a way. Especially if you're West
Dope.
Coast, because I'll just stay up late. I just won't sleep, and we'll figure it out.
You got to charge an extra rate if you're losing sleep.
It's
There's like a West Coast tax. They're used to it out there.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Okay, I want to do this one from Tom Pendergrass. We have time for one more? No.
Yeah,
Yes?
we got time for one more.
One more. Okay. From Thomas Pendergrass. This is titled ABS. I was just listening to the Blind Apex podcast. Another good podcast to check out if you like this type of podcast. They talk racing, driving with, I think it's Kane Konturk, but it's spelled a little funny and I don't remember how to say it.
It
It
has a
might be
lot of
Shanturk.
it has a lot of K's in it.
It has extra A. I think it's Kane Konturk though.
I'll
He
look it
said
up.
it really fast at the beginning and I was scared to like get it wrong. But anyway,
I'll look
I
it up.
finally just got it
Yeah,
wrong
yeah.
probably.
I'll look it up, and then you
Okay, Tom Prendergrass. Listening to the Blind Apex podcast, Tom mentioned he prefers ABS. I've heard other pro drivers say that they did like ABS, mainly when comparing GTE to GT3 cars. What are some of the reasons you may not want ABS, anti-lock brakes? Tom Pendergrass. I mean, it's a safety net. I don't know. It's just a thing that basically once your tires lock up, it's like impossible to fix. You're kind of like really screwed. Whereas like if you miss the apex, you got plenty of time to fix it. If you get on the throttle too early and the back end comes out, like you can fix it. There's a reason to not want too much interference from the car when it comes to stability control and traction control. But the car physically can't stop any harder. And if you lock the brakes up, then you're probably just going straight and going off the track. So I would rather have a thing to help me not do that.
I could think of one situation where ABS gets in the way.
Is it drifting?
No. Well,
Okay.
kinda. When you're in a slide and you don't want the car to
Yeah.
hook, and if you just mash it with no ABS, whatever direction you're currently heading, you just keep going in that direction. But
Oh, I
sometimes,
see.
yeah, sometimes the car will hook because the ABS is keeping the wheels rolling, and you'll actually travel somewhere. Like you'll have like a curve or like a hook to like your
Yeah,
big
yeah.
slide. And if you're ABS and you're like, I'm sliding in a direction that like literally leads to nothing that I can hit, and you just like put a crap ton of leg force into it, now you just keep moving in that direction forever.
Right. So you're saying in order to save a spin, you would go full brake with no ABS, just locks the car down, but you don't like keep spinning. You just go straight.
Yep.
Um, honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why a class like GTE or GTLM, which doesn't exist anymore, I don't know why those cars didn't have ABS other than to just make them a little bit more difficult for the sake of good racing.
Yeah, I think,
which worked. They
yep.
raced really well. I'm assuming there's a real better mechanical engineering reason to not have ABS in Formula One or like
I know. I think it's purely just for the
prototypes.
racing. I think it's just purely just for the racing. I don't think there's a reason why they don't have ABS. Because you think about how
don't know.
good all this motorsports like ABS and TC, like you think about GT4 cars, like their ABS is so good. And then the
Yeah.
traction control, like at this point, is like just like so good. If you think about like the GT3 NSX that you drove, like all that stuff is
Mhm.
just so solid. So like to think that it wouldn't also be solid on like some prototype car or like an F1 car or whatever, I think it's purely just because at that level, racing only exists for a show. And it makes a
I
better
guess so,
show.
yeah.
It makes a better show when somebody messes up on the brakes. I mean, because that's the easiest place to mess up is on the brakes. So if you make that a little harder, then you're demanding more from the drivers, and the drivers that can
Yeah.
shine will shine a little bit brighter.
That's what I think that as well. I mean, the brakes, no matter what, if you were to do like all the inputs of the car at 100% all at once, the brakes will still win. The brakes are the most powerful system in the car, which I think is why it's the easiest to overdo, and the main reason that you would still want anti-lock brakes. It's just a safety net thing. I would always say yes rather than
Even if it's
no
bad
to
ABS.
Yeah, because it's just I can keep the car out of ABS, but the difference between keeping it out of ABS and out of lockup is like potentially a big incident, you know, or like even a small incident. I don't know. That's just why I would rather have it.
And some cars are like kind of tough to feel when you're getting that lockup. Like some cars are easier than others where like they start to like dance and wiggle around a little bit and you're like, "Whoa, I'm at the you ready, Joel? You ready for a drink? I'm at the limit of adhesion." Right? But then other cars like Mitch Marhefka's K24 Miata that I drove almost a year ago today. Uh it would just lock. I mean, it eventually felt better because he had a brake bias controller in it, but it would just lock inside fronts and you like wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. Or I drove, you know, Sam Myers, right?
Yeah.
He's from Ohio here with this. He had that black
Yep. The
CRX
CRX.
that before Adam Roberts was driving it pretty regularly in SECA mainly. I drove it one weekend for fun at NCM, and it didn't have ABS. Obviously, it's CRX, but all the bent braking zones at NCM are turning right into a corner where you're like trail braking. And I kept flat spotting the right rear because the car would like hike up on three wheels, and then I would like carry the inside right tire off the ground, just off the surface, and like scrape it down to the cords
Yep.
because all the corners. So I would just like I had the car's not
Like, what
even
do you
like losing
do?
performance at that point.
What do you
So I
just
was like
lift?
I was driving into the corners trying to like turn, get the car not only straight but like turn left a little bit so that the rear was down, and then brake in a straight line.
Yeah, that's so
But
weird.
I think I smoked 3 right rear tires that weekend because I couldn't get the car to stop smoking the inside rear.
I remember that was happening to Katil at Putnam one year. He just like killed like
Yeah.
a couple tires. Like they literally had holes in them because he was dragging
Oh,
the tire for so long.
it's another good reason. It doesn't ruin your tires.
Yeah. ABS guys, it's actually pretty incredible. It's like a pretty incredible piece of technology. It's actually pretty incredible
Yeah.
that it's existed as long as it has.
And that's coming from a brake professional. Picking.
Hey, I can call myself that. uh,
You are that.
all right, Tom. Kind of already covered the weekend, but you're going to Mid Ohio?
Yep. I'm going to Mid Ohio. You're going to pit race?
Not pit race. It's at the Dragway 42 is the autocross event that I'm going to
Oh, got it.
on
Well,
Sunday.
I'll see you Saturday maybe.
Yep,
And then you have fun on Sunday.
I will. Yeah, probably see you Saturday. I don't like at least in the morning. Like I'll
No
drive
pressure.
down. Like when Christine's at work, I'll like drive down, hang out. Okay, get back home because that's mostly when I get to hang out with Christine because we're both so busy during the week.
Good point. Good call.
So, yep, that's the plans for the weekend. All right. Well, the Grid Life iRacer server, if you're listening to this live, opened up 7 minutes ago. We're doing GT3 cars. So I'm gonna go do that. So Tom, do you want to take us out?
Yeah. Hey, and your sim race this weekend at your autocross as well. At my race, I love my hair. I hope I win. And you.